The first one is Suit Up. The Suit Up room is located in NASA's Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building, or the ONC. Here, the SpaceX team will help the astronauts put on their suits and perform some key suit checkouts to ensure suit integrity. After Suit Up, we'll see the crew walk out. The astronauts will leave the ONC building for final goodbyes with coworkers, friends, and family gathered outside before they head to the launch pad.
Following goodbyes, the crew will get in their Teslas and begin the roughly 15-minute drive to pad 39A. Once there, the 4 astronauts will ascend to the 255-foot level of the fixed service structure. That's the structure you see to the right of the rocket. Then they take the last 10 feet to the crew access arm and white room. The white room is their last stop before boarding their spacecraft, a process known as crew ingress. During ingress, the SpaceX team will run a series of checks to ensure the suits, seats, and vehicle interfaces are all functioning properly.
After all the vehicle and crew checkouts are complete, the SpaceX closeout team will close the Crew Dragon's side hatch with the crew safely inside. At T-minus 40 minutes, the crew access arm, which is the long suspended walkway the astronauts use to board Dragon, will retract, followed by the arming of the launch escape system.
And once the arm is retracted and the escape system armed, propellant loading on Falcon 9 will begin. At T-minus 5 minutes, Dragon will be configured for what is called terminal count. This is when Dragon's onboard computers take control of the spacecraft.
And finally, at T0, Crew Dragon and Falcon 9 will lift off from pad 39A. Roughly 12 minutes after liftoff, Crew Dragon will separate from Falcon 9's second stage, enter its preliminary orbit and activation phase, and begin using its own onboard propulsion system to carry the crew to their destination, the International Space Station. So with crew suit up in about 7 minutes, let's introduce our team at SpaceX headquarters in California to show us what's happening there. What's up, Gary and Jesse? Tracy, looking at this room, I'm sure it brings back memories.
Oh, it does. It brings back too many. I don't have enough time to talk about it all. But yeah, this is such a historic room that anyone who walks in it, whether you're an astronaut or not, you just feel like you're catapulted in time to a period where this all began.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a view of Megan MacArthur being helped by the suit technicians. She happens to be the wife of Bob Behnken, and she's going to be flying in the same spacecraft in the same suit, not the same suit, excuse me, the same seat as her husband in the pilot seat. But, of course, she's got her own custom-made suit on.
Yep, all of these suits were designed in-house at SpaceX. We took safety, comfort, and style all into account. I absolutely love the way that these turned out, and we have heard from crew members that they are really comfortable. So what we see going on here with earlier Megan, they were basically just making sure that everything was comfortable and everything was zipped up. And what we see, I can't quite tell who's in that chair there, but they're basically sitting in a mock-up of the Crew Dragon capsule. All right, all good news there from SpaceX Launch Director Frank Messina and SpaceX Chief Engineer Emma France. Everything sounds like we are on track and looking really good for our on-time liftoff today for this Crew-2 mission.
And just a quick note about those call-outs. Sometimes they may happen a little bit ahead of schedule from what we have on paper. And so we might be in mid-sentence, and we'll do our best to just stop talking so that you don't miss that traffic on the nets. But moving right along, this is the second rotational crew to fly on a commercial spacecraft, and they bring a diverse set of experiences to today's flight. Crew Dragon Commander Shane Kimbrough, sitting there, will be making his third trip to space. He was born in Killeen, Texas, and raised in Atlanta. He was selected as an astronaut in 2004. Kimbrough is a retired U.S. Army colonel and holds degrees in aerospace engineering and operations research. He first launched aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour on STS-126, then aboard a Russian Soyuz spacecraft for expeditions 4950. Kimbrough has spent a total of 189 days in space and performed 6 spacewalks.
Pilot Megan MacArthur will be making her second trip to space, but her first one to the space station. She was born in Honolulu, but considers California her home state. NASA selected MacArthur as an astronaut in 2000. She holds degrees in aerospace engineering and oceanography. MacArthur served as mission specialist aboard Space Shuttle Atlantis on STS-125, the final servicing mission of the Hubble Space Telescope in 2009. She operated the shuttle's robotic arm over the course of 12 days and 21 hours, capturing the telescope and maneuvering crew members throughout the 5 spacewalks to upgrade Hubble's science instruments, along with removal and replacement of other components to lengthen the telescope's life. Hubble continues to operate to this day, providing scientists the opportunity to make more and more deep space discoveries.
Mission specialist Aki Hoshide is suiting up for his 3rd space flight today. Born in Tokyo, Hoshide was selected as an astronaut in 1999 by the National Space Development Agency of Japan, known today as JAXA. Hoshide earned degrees in aerospace engineering and mechanical engineering. He flew on STS-124 aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery to deliver and install Japan's science laboratory Kibo. He also flew aboard the Russian Soyuz on Expedition 32 and 33 for a 124-day visit to the space station. In 2014, he also served as commander of the 18th NASA Extreme Environment Mission Operation, an underwater expedition at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Aquarius habitat off Florida Keys' Largo Coast.
And mission specialist Thomas Pesquet will be making his 2nd trip to space. Born in Rouen, France, Pesquet was selected by ESA as an astronaut in 2009. He has a degree in spacecraft design and control and more than 2,300 hours as a commercial airline pilot. Pesquet first flew to space on the Russian Soyuz as a flight engineer for Expeditions 50 and 51. In that time, he worked on more than 50 different experiments and performed 2 spacewalks to maintain the space station with Kimbrough. He has logged 197 days in space. Pesquet will be the first European astronaut to fly in Crew Dragon, and it will be the first time a European has launched from American soil in more than a decade.
Each of these 4 crew members will join Expedition 65 once they arrive at the International Space Station, with Aki Hoshide taking over as commander of the station right before Crew 1 departs. And of course, we will be sure to give you a closer look at each of these astronauts as we approach launch time. So we can see right now, pilot Megan MacArthur is now going through the leak check portion of Suit Up. Aki looks very comfortable.
The advanced team is in the white room on schedule.
All right, the call that we heard there indicates the advanced team, which is basically the SpaceX team that just arrived out at Pad 39A to start preparing Dragon capsule for the arrival of the crew and the remainder of the closeout team. Once again, Aki having some more laughs with our suit technicians there in the Suit Up room. And MacArthur also came into her role with a unique perspective. As we mentioned earlier, Bob Behnken is her husband, so she's getting ready to make the same journey he did nearly 1 year ago in the same seat and role of pilot aboard Crew Dragon Endeavour. And of course, he will be the one seeing her off today.
As for Pesquet and Hoshide, during their previous trips to the International Space Station, they both saw Cargo Dragon up close and personal. They had the opportunity to capture the vehicle with the station's robotic Canada arm during the Dragon's birthing process. As a point of distinction, Crew Dragon will dock autonomously with the space station and will not need the help of the arm. During that experience, Pesquet was truly amazed by the spacecraft's guidance and navigation, and how precise it was while traveling at more than 17,500 miles per hour above the Earth. Now he will ride aboard Crew Dragon and is looking forward to experiencing that same sort of performance firsthand.
And for Hoshide, he was astonished by the gorgeous design of the Dragon spacecraft, and he had a lot of fun transferring cargo in and out of the vehicle. At the time, he never thought he'd have the opportunity to ride on Dragon, and so he's looking forward to it being a fascinating ride. And there he is giving a wave inside the suit-up room.
During one of their many trips to train at SpaceX facilities in Hawthorne, our team had the opportunity to chat with the crew. One thing that's for certain about these 4 astronauts, they all really enjoy each other's company and always have a good time with each other.
And so it is T-minus 3 hours, 24 minutes and counting. And any moment now, we expect to see the crew leave the room and start walking down the hallway. We'll see them get into an elevator, and here is a shot of the elevator. So, the hallway. And so where those, that is Joe Acaba to the left.
And Jessica Watkins, one of our newer astronauts there. They both are part of the VIT team, the Vehicle Integration and Test team office.
And we'll see the crew walk out. There's a doorway to the left of your screen where Joe and Jessica are facing, and we'll see the crew walk out of that doorway and come straight down towards where the camera is pointing any moment now. And here they come.
There they are.
Commander Shane Kimbrough, pilot Megan MacArthur in the front, Megan blowing kisses. Thomas and Aki ready for their ride to the space station. And inside the elevator there is a poster you can see in the background. It has the signatures of folks who have worked on this mission. And here they come, the Crew-2 astronauts taking their first steps outside before their journey to space.
Yay!
I love this moment. They're now going to have the opportunity to wave goodbye from a safe distance. The distance is normal protocol for spaceflight. This is not a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This would be in place even if we didn't have that situation going on. But I love this moment. It's a wonderful opportunity to see the astronauts get some final farewells from their friends and family members.
We've got Shane and Megan to the right of your screen, Thomas and Aki to the left.
There's Shane's wife.
Shane and his wife posing for a socially distanced photo.
Yes.
And it looks like Bob Benkin is there in a blue polo with the son of he and Megan MacArthur. Yeah, there's a better shot of Bob, Megan, and their son. What an experience as their son to do this twice.
Get to see dad and mom go to space.
He's going to think this is normal to
Yeah.
whatever all kids experience.
And you can see on the license plate of that Tesla, recycle. You can't see it from this shot, but the other two Teslas in this convoy have reduce and reuse.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So
the first
that's
one is
pretty cool.
reduce, the second one is reuse, and this one is recycle.
a nod there again to Earth Day, the originally planned date for launch.
I'm more impressed by the Tesla than by the rocket.
And we see those Tesla doors starting to close now.
Like I mentioned before, the equipment is already in the Tesla. The astronauts are plugged into that small blue box, and they're getting that cool air flowing through their suits once again. And the AC is turned up on high in those Teslas to make sure everybody's comfy.
Oh, you've seen some people go around to the backside of the cars. This is another opportunity for family members to approach and have a little bit more private moment with their crew member before they leave.
With the windows up, of course.
Yes.
I can't tell you how meaningful this is for crew to have this opportunity to see their loved one this close to heading out to the pad. This is a nice change that we've made.
And this is the car carrying Shane Kimbrough on the right rear passenger side, and Megan MacArthur is on the left rear passenger side. And then this the third Tesla in the convoy here with the recycle license plate has Thomas sitting on the back rear side and Aki sitting on the left rear side. And as soon as the families come back around, we should see the convoy begin to pull away. Right on schedule.
We love you. I love you too, brother.
ONC departure on schedule.
All right, so we just heard that announcement that the crew has departed the operations and checkout building on schedule. They are now on their way to Launch Complex 39A, scheduled to lift off at 5:49 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. It will be about a 15-minute drive with a full security escort across NASA's Kennedy Space Center and out to the launch pad. And as we follow the convoy, we'd like to share some words from the teams working so hard day and night to get this crew to the International Space Station.
So there we can see Shane and Megan have made their way up the tower. They're now climbing the stairs to the level where the crew arm is located. Before Aki and Thomas make their way to the elevator at the ground level of Pad 39A, let's get a look at mission specialist and JAXA astronaut Aki Hoshide. Once at the space station, he will be part of the first ever direct handover from one Japanese astronaut to another.
If you're just joining us, you're watching live coverage of NASA's SpaceX mission known as Crew-2. Good morning and welcome to Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I'm Marie Lewis with NASA Communications.
And I'm Kate Tice, Senior Certification Engineer at SpaceX. Joining us today is NASA astronaut Tracy Caldwell Dyson. Welcome, Tracy. We're so happy that you're able to join us this morning.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Marie. It's great to be here.
So as you can see, the crew has already arrived at Pad 39A, where Falcon 9 will lift off at 5:49 a.m. Eastern Time. We can see that Megan and Shane are in the White Room here, undergoing final checkouts and just comfort checks with the suit and closeout team. One thing that we'll see them do momentarily is the closeout lead there on the right-hand side with the tablet will provide them with a black Sharpie, and they're going to actually add their signature to the wall to their right of this White Room. We named it the White Room to keep, again, in space tradition from previous human spaceflight programs, but something different this time. We're actually having all the astronauts that fly on Crew Dragon sign their names. And there's a shot inside the crew tower. It looks like where Aki and Thomas are now using the telephone for a final goodbye. Now, Tracy, do you want to talk a little bit about the significance of that particular telephone?
I think it's a great way to surprise your family and friends on launch day. I know that my parents were not expecting it, and it was probably one of the more emotional moments for them. And in a moment, we will see Commander Shane Kimbrough. Here he is climbing inside Crew Dragon Endeavour. We call this process ingress. And pilot Megan MacArthur following.
So we can see the closeout team assisting the crew.
Crew ingress has started on schedule.
Announcement there that we are on schedule with our activity here of crew ingress. Like I was saying, you can see the closeout team assisting the crew as they enter the capsule to assure that they don't ding their helmet or any part of their suit on the hatch as they're entering. There's also some protective coverings around the hatch itself, but just to make sure that there's a clear path to entry, we now see suit technicians assisting the crew getting settled and will help the crew members get buckled in. The harness that we see coming into the picture here is not just your normal seat belt, although it does function in that purpose. It's a 5-point harness, and the crew will start to buckle themselves in, and kind of like when you get on a roller coaster, like you get your initial fit up, and then your safety team member comes over and makes sure that you're locked and loaded and ready to go.
And we got some really cool views of the second two astronauts walking through the crew arm, making their way to the Dragon capsule. And to help protect against debris, the crew has covers on their boots as well as on their umbilical port on their suits that need to be removed before they can ingress. And once the FOD check was complete for the first two astronauts, Commander Shane Kimbrough ingressed first, followed by Megan. And then next up, we will have Aki and Thomas, who just made it to the white room that you can see on your left-hand screen. And Megan and Commander Shane Kimbrough are now strapped in. They're getting all hooked up to their umbilicals, and the umbilicals allow the crew to have their comms through their suit, air to help keep them cool, as well as delivers nitrox for suit pressurization. And as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the suit's primary function is to protect the crew in the event of a cabin depressurization.
Gary said just over 2.5 hours remaining in the countdown for the launch of Falcon 9 with Dragon on the Crew-2 mission to the space station. The Dragon launch ops team has completed their major activities to prepare the spacecraft for the astronauts. Checkouts are complete of the major systems, including the escape system. And as you can see on your screens, ingress of the astronauts is well underway, all 4 crew members inside the Dragon capsule, and there are no issues in work. We're also listening right now for the Dragon team comm checks with the crew. That'll be coming up momentarily. Now, the Falcon 9 team is located in Firing Room 4 in the Launch Control Center at Kennedy Space Center. They're settling in for final checkouts and then propellant loading and launch. We've been hearing some of the comm checks as the engineers get on station here in the last 15-20 minutes. Now, the Falcon 9 team will also do comm checks with the crew. That'll happen at about T-minus 2 hours, or about 30 minutes from now. Currently, all systems are go on the launch vehicle. The range continues to report no problems. The weather forecast continues to be acceptable. We're looking at weather not only at the launch site, but around the world. We need to make sure conditions are acceptable if Dragon has to splash down in the Atlantic in case of an escape. We're also monitoring contingency splashdown locations if the crew had to come back to Earth before docking with the space station. Now, if this were to happen, SpaceX and NASA are coordinating with the U.S. Coast Guard to ensure crew safety upon splashdown. That includes extra ships and air assets to patrol the 10 nautical mile keep out zone. This will help mitigate safety concerns for any boaters who may approach the landing area. But right now, as the clock continues to count down, all systems are go at T-minus 2 hours, 31 minutes, and 32 seconds. Let's head back over to Jesse and Gary, who are also here in Hawthorne with me.
Thanks, John. In order to get to where we are today, our third human space flight, it took years of hard work. The development of Crew Dragon really started with Cargo Dragon because Dragon was designed from the beginning for flying humans to space, so much so that even the first Cargo Dragon had a window. Our teams implemented a number of design upgrades to make sure both Dragon and Falcon 9 are suitable for flying people, and then put both vehicles through thousands of tests to prove their safety. At SpaceX, we believe in a process of continued iteration that allows us to continuously improve the designs of all of our hardware. Now, with that said, Dragon underwent a few improvements since it last flew people.
That's right. Components have been added to the Dragon propulsion system that increases pad abort performance by over 10%, which increases launch availability by more than doubling the onshore wind limits. A fly-around capability was also added, which will allow Dragon to circumnavigate around the International Space Station post-undocking in order to take pictures and document the condition of the station. As you might recall, this was a maneuver the shuttle used to perform, but since its retirement, there hasn't been any spacecraft that has been able to provide detailed imagery around the space station. You could equate this to being able to walk around your house and check on it to make sure nothing is in need of repair.
We've also added and improved some interior cargo stowage locations to make it easier for the crew to access items that they will need during free flight. And lastly, the paint on the mud flaps and Super Draco cartridges were changed from silver to white. While this may seem like an aesthetic change, it actually results in a lower equilibrium temperature on orbit for a given solar input. This has the advantage of increasing return availability by improving structural margins during splashdown.
So a lot of preparation has come into ensuring the safety of these missions, and we're really excited to see Crew-2 lift off from the Kennedy Space Center later today. Still standing by for those communication checks. You can see some of the suit technicians getting them situated. They become quite pros at this, Jesse. Just as soon as they got into the seats, you saw some of their gloves were off. Those gloves specially designed and form-fitted to each of the astronauts. The gloves are now in place. Very shortly, we'll be hearing the communications checks. Some of the other milestones that'll happen very quickly as well will be the seat rotation. It'll be from this position that allows the suit technicians to access each of the astronauts and help them get buckled, strapped in, and the umbilicals checked out. And then, of course, there'll be the suit leak check.
And we got a cool view looking from outside of the Dragon capsule in through the hatchway. And some fist bumps there from the suit techs to the astronauts.
It's an exciting day for everyone, really. The anticipation, I can't even imagine. You want to, just seeing the pilots and the commanders from previous missions accessing the panel, wanting to get through their checklists. You know they're really soaking in this moment, but at the same time, they are thinking about those next steps. What do I have to do to prepare to make sure we're ready to launch on time today?
Exactly. They must be so excited, but this is their job at the moment, right? They're actually...
SpaceX Endeavour, we're in section 1.3, ready for comm checks.
SpaceX copies. Stand by for umbilical comm check. CDR, PLT, MS1, MS2, comm check.
CDR, loud and clear.
PLT, loud and clear.
MS1, loud and clear. And MS2, loud and clear.
And core, loud and clear. Umbilical comm checks complete. Stand by for ground station comm check.
If you're just now joining us, they are performing comm checks right now, so that is what we are waiting for. They've done a couple so far. There will be a few more call-outs here for these communication checks.
Dragon SpaceX comm check.
Endeavour has you loud and clear.
And core loud and clear. Ground station comm check complete. Stand by for TDRS comm check.
An incredible view from one of the handheld cameras of the suit technician peering in through the side hatch. The side hatch is open now and will remain closed throughout the duration of the mission until Dragon splashes down. We're standing by for some of the further communication
Dragon
checks.
SpaceX comm check.
Endeavour has you loud and clear.
Core loud and clear. TDRS comm check complete. Stand by for comm checks with MD and LD in the launch configuration.
Dragon, MD on countdown 1, comm check.
MD have you loud and clear on countdown 1.
MD loud and clear, stand by for comm check over Dragon to ground. Dragon, MD on Dragon to ground, comm check.
MD loud and clear, Dragon to ground.
MD loud and clear, stand by for comm checks with LD.
Dragon, LD on countdown 1, comm check.
LD loud and clear, countdown 1.
LD loud and clear, stand by for a comm check over Dragon to ground. Dragon, LD on Dragon to ground, comm check.
LD loud and clear, Dragon to ground.
LD loud and clear.
And right now, as we get ready to bring the hatch down, we're going to go back to the team at Kennedy Space Center.
Thanks for that update, John. As you can see, we are preparing for the closure of the side hatch. The closeout team there in the black SpaceX flight suits that you see have performed a final FOD check, and they've gotten the final okay from the crew inside the capsule to confirm that they are indeed ready to go to space today. As you can see, the side hatch has just been closed. This is a little bit more complicated than it may seem. So it's this initial closure, and then there will be actual mechanical closure using a torque wrench, which we should see here momentarily. Might be, yeah, we can see that happening now. And then afterward, we will inflate the seal that's around the side hatch in order to do that leak check. We'll inflate the seal, apply a pressure basically, and make sure that the hatch is able to hold that designated pressure for a couple of minutes. And once that's done, we'll put the side closure there on the open part of the hatch that still remains. And like John said, at that point, the crew will then begin to prepare the crew access arm for retraction.
And I can't emphasize this enough. We've seen this time and time again with SpaceX. The written timeline, has very specific times laid out, but oftentimes we see that they're ahead of schedule, and that's certainly the case here.
Side hatch is closed and starting leak checks on schedule.
Okay, so we heard the announcement that the side hatch is
Copy.
closed.
Thanks for the words, Chad.
And leak checks are beginning momentarily on the side hatch. Now, when I say that they're ahead of schedule. That does not mean the launch time is changing. Launch is instantaneous. That cannot change. That's holding for 5:49 and 2 seconds this morning, Eastern Daylight Time. But when the teams work ahead, as they are in this case, if everything goes well with the side hatch leak checks, all that does is give them more time, more margin to troubleshoot if an issue does pop up after this point. So they may be running ahead of the timeline, but regardless, we're still going to see launch, if everything goes well, at 5:49 and 2 seconds this morning.
And what we're seeing now is the closeout team basically installing the fixture that will allow us to begin to inflate that seal that is around the side hatch, which, like I said, pressurizing and then for a couple of minutes to ensure that the side hatch is able to maintain that designated pressure. As you can see, everyone's following along with procedures on their tablets. Everyone has a specific job. That's what the numbers are for, located on the back of the of the flight suits. Everyone has a specific role, and all of this has been practiced multiple times, which is why it looks like the well-oiled machine that we see here. Stacy, at this point in time, the door is closed. You know stuff is happening on the outside. Where is your heart? Where is your head at this point in the launch countdown? Because you're not quite there yet, but like you said earlier, your suit's on, so like the on button has been pushed.
Exactly. Exactly. And right now, I imagine I've not been in the Dragon capsule, but I'm pretty sure the crew can hear what the closeout crew is doing right now. So they're probably listening to the mechanisms and their spacecraft breathing. But at this point, now that the hatch is closed, it's like a new phase. It's just the four of you, and you know from this point forward that it's just the four of you. So your focus kind of comes in a little bit before you're coordinating with the second team, but now it's just the four of you, and then the voices that you hear. So it's kind of it's a transition.
We got word that the crew aboard the International Space Station is also watching all of this unfold live. Of course, they were sitting in these seats at the pad in their Crew Dragon Resilience that's currently docked to the International Space Station. So that crew is watching the crew on the pad today and getting ready to welcome them aboard if all goes as planned early tomorrow morning. And again, if you're just joining us, the side hatch of the Crew Dragon Endeavour on the launch pad has just closed, and leak checks of that side hatch are in progress. This is a view of the White Room with members of the SpaceX pad closeout team you see in the black flight suits. And the shot we saw just before this was from inside the Crew Dragon Endeavour capsule.
Like I mentioned earlier, it's not as simple as just closing the door on your car or to your house. We do inflate the seal around the side hatch.
Oh, no. We're playing rock, paper, scissors. Double-fisted rock, paper, scissors.
What's the prize? That's what I want to know.
I know.
What's the end game here?
Yeah, what's at stake?
So, like I said, this process takes a couple of minutes. We inflate the seal around the side hatch and make sure that it's able to maintain that pressure for a couple of minutes prior to actually performing the rest of the physical preparation of the side hatch itself. Which at that point, after the successful leak check, will mostly just involve removing the remaining ground support equipment away from the area and installing the tiny hatch on the hatch. The rock, paper, scissors shoot with the Crew-2 crew continues on.
I was going to say, yeah, let's get back to the technical part of the rock, paper, scissors. They did this during dry dress, and we wondered what was going on. And it may be that they're just making up for lost time. I don't remember seeing them do this during the suit up. And so they're getting in their rock, paper, scissor now.
It's critical.
It's totally critical.
But in all seriousness, I think that, you know, when we see the joke, that we see the crew kind of joke around and have those moments of levity, they can do that because they know these procedures like the back of their hand.
Exactly.
It's all like muscle memory at this point because they've rehearsed it so many times.
Yeah, this is definitely a good sign. They have a moment of levity.
Watching the sequence, a nice view from up on top of the fixed service structure. The arms are opening. And we're beginning to recline away from the Falcon 9. We'll move the strongback 2 degrees away from the Falcon 9. That'll get it ready for liftoff. And at T0, when the flight computer commands liftoff, the hydraulics on the strongback will pull it to a position 45 degrees away from the Falcon 9, giving it the clearance for launch. So right now, the strongback is moving away. Everything proceeding nominally.
It's great to hear, John. We're also anxiously awaiting the liquid oxygen complete on the first stage. Should hear that call very shortly.
Dragon has transitioned to terminal count and is on internal power.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
Okay, we've heard the call out. Stage 1 LOX load is complete. We're loading liquid oxygen on the second stage for about another 30 seconds or so. Once we get the liquid oxygen load complete on the second stage, the propellant line that runs up the side of the strongback that carries liquid oxygen, we'll vent that line down and make sure there's no liquid in it when we get to liftoff. When we do that, we open up valves on the strongback, and as Kate and Marie were talking earlier, when we vent off that very cold gaseous oxygen, it'll merge with the warm, humid Florida air, and you'll get a large white plume of condensation off of the back of the strongback. That'll be normal, coming about a minute and a half before launch. Everything continuing to look good.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
Dragon is in auto idle.
All right, with that, the Falcon 9 is fully fueled. We have fuel on both the first and second stages, and both stages are filled with liquid oxygen.
Gas closeout has started. Expect loud venting.
Dragon is also in auto idle. The flight computers on Dragon, maintaining their calculations, standing by, waiting for the T0 mark. 1 minute, 15 seconds until launch. The 1 minute mark, Dragon will transition to countdown, and the flight termination system will arm the computers on Falcon 9. We'll be talking to the computers on Dragon and can issue an abort if necessary.
FTS is armed. Falcon 9 is in startup and is now controlling.
Dragon is in countdown.
All right, 50 seconds to go. Everything is ready for an on-time launch today.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
Copy, go for launch.
Ground teams are ready, and the crew inside Dragon is ready. 30 seconds to go until launch.
Seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Mission and liftoff. Godspeed, Endeavour and Crew-2.
Copy, 1 Alpha.
Endeavour launches once again. 4 astronauts from 3 countries on Crew-2, now making their way to the one and only International Space Station. The vehicle is pitching downrange. 9 Merlin engines on the first stage, providing 1.7 million pounds of thrust. Hearing good calls on first stage performance so far.
We are T plus 30 seconds into the second rotational crew mission on board Dragon and Falcon 9. Falcon 9 will be throttling down the 9 Merlin engines shortly here in preparation for maximum dynamic pressure. And there's that call out for the throttle down. Maximum dynamic pressure, max Q, is the largest structural load that the vehicle sees throughout ascent, so throttling down does help us pass. going down helps us pass through this period, which should be coming here shortly.
Max Q.
There's our call out that we have just passed through Max Q.
Stage 1, throttle up.
And we can
Bravo.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
All right, 1 Bravo is the second abort mode on the first stage. The first stage continues to fire for 2 minutes, 35 seconds. 1.5 minutes into today's flight. Falcon 9 now traveling at more than 1,500 miles an hour.
MVAC engine chill started.
All right, the engine chill for the second stage single Merlin engine has started. About 30 more seconds of the first stage firing to bring our 4 astronauts into orbit.
Now from here, coming up in about 20-some seconds, we're going to have 3 major milestones. We'll have shutdown of the 9 Merlin engines. We're beginning to throttle them down. We will then get stage separation.
1, throttle down.
And then we will get ignition of the second stage engine to propel Dragon and the Falcon 9 second stage into orbit.
Two Alpha.
Copy, 2 Alpha.
Confirmed.
Acquisition signal, right.
MVAC ignition.
And we have ignition of the second stage. You see the green flash of that TTEB fluid. The expansion nozzle on the second stage Merlin vacuum glowing that bright red that we like to see. Good performance on the second stage so far.
And on the left side of your screen, we saw the exhaust of the second stage engine streaming past the first stage as the grid fins are coming out. We also briefly had a view of the lights of Central Florida in the background. Currently, the first stage is continuing to coast up to apogee. It's unpowered. It'll reach a peak height and then begin to descend back down toward the Earth's atmosphere, where it will light 3 engines to slow down in preparation for what will be a landing burn on the drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. You can see the grid fins are deployed right now. The first stage
Dragon,
pulsing.
SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
We're pulsing the thrusters.
Signal of Bermuda.
Copy, nominal trajectory.
We hear a call out from the crew, nominal trajectory. So we're beginning to move the first stage into position so it can do the entry burn.
Four minutes, 15 seconds into today's flight. Second stage propelling our 4 astronauts up the eastern seaboard. We'll continue to fire. It's a 6-minute burn to deliver the astronauts into orbit. We'll wait for a cue for good orbital insertion after that. Meanwhile, we will be hearing check-ins on the vehicle's trajectory and performance, as well as check-ins with some of the ground stations as it passes over throughout the 6 minutes of the second stage firing.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Copy, nominal trajectory.
Getting good views of both the first and second stage from the onboard cameras.
Acquisition of signal, boss.
The New Hampshire tracking station has acquired the second stage telemetry signal. Meanwhile, the first stage has reached apogee, and it's now beginning to descend from a height. It's currently about 167 kilometers up, and in a few minutes we will get the entry burn of the second stage, of the first stage.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Copy, nominal trajectory.
Right on cue, those check-ins on the second stage performance once a minute. Everything's looking good on that second stage.
Propulsion is nominal.
Stage 2 continues to climb. The vehicle now exceeding 8,000 miles an hour at an altitude of about 124 miles.
And just about 1 minute from now, we will begin the entry burn of the first stage. That'll consist of lighting the center engine, and then shortly afterwards, 2 more engines for a 3-engine burn to slow down the first stage in preparation for entering the Earth's atmosphere.
Dragon SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Copy, nominal trajectory.
Another check-in, and the crew confirming they're hearing the same thing. The vehicle exceeding, or about to exceed, about 10,000 miles per hour.
Meanwhile, first stage down at 90 kilometers, getting ready to relight 3 engines for the entry burn.
Stage 2 FTS has safed.
We've got the center engine ignition, and there come the 2 side engines. Now this entry burn will last about 29 seconds. It's going to significantly slow down the vehicle in preparation for hitting the denser part of the Earth's atmosphere. Entry burn complete. We're down below 35 kilometers, continuing to look good on the first stage, heading to the Atlantic Ocean for a landing on the drone ship.
While second stage is less than a minute away from cutoff.
Stage 2 in terminal guidance.
Shannon.
Copy, Shannon.
Shannon called out at the back end of stage 2, a few seconds until cutoff.
MVAC shutdown.
Dragon SpaceX launch escape system disarmed.
Launch escape system disarmed. Copy.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal orbit insertion.
Copy, nominal orbital insertion.
Right, the Falcon 9 second stage has done its job, delivering our 4 crew into orbit.
You hear the applause here in Hawthorne. We're waiting to get a video signal back from the drone ship. Of course, I still love you. And the view from the onboard camera, we saw it just briefly. It looks like first stage on the drone ship. Getting views of the Dragon trunk. So the first stage is on the drone ship, successfully landed. And more importantly, second stage is in a nominal orbit with the Dragon spacecraft getting ready for some important events coming up, Gary.
That's right. About 2 more minutes. The Dragon and the second stage of the Falcon 9 will be in a coast phase. It'll take that long until the spacecraft separates from the Falcon 9. Of course, both now in a nominal orbit. It's great to see some of the views of the Earth as it passes by over the North Atlantic Ocean. All right, we're getting shots of the crew in orbit. I'm looking for that 0G indicator. Can't seem to see it in this shot, but we have a minute to go until we have spacecraft separation. Dragon traveling at nearly 17,000 miles per hour at an altitude of 124 miles. Again, the 4-person crew of Endeavour is in orbit right now. Less than 30 seconds until we have spacecraft separation. Ten seconds to spacecraft separation. We should hear words from the core here in Mission Control Hawthorne once we have successful separation.
Dragon separation confirmed.
Dragon, they said, Falcon team wishes you a great rest of your trip. Say hi to the crew Dragon is waiting for us and let them know your rocket is home safe. Thanks for flying our first flight-proven, crewed Falcon 9. See you airside, Crew-2.
Thank you very much. We're great. It's glad to be back in space for all of us, and we'll send our regards to Crew 1 when we get there. Thanks.
Absolutely stunning views from both inside the cabin, seeing the excitement of our 4-person crew inside Endeavour, and watching Endeavour drift away from the camera on the second stage as the Earth passes by on an orbital sunrise.
SpaceX Endeavour week.
And Endeavour, you cut out a little bit there. If the question was if you're go to open visors, you are go to open visors at this time.
Copy and work, thanks.
All right, 13 and a half minutes past liftoff. The crew is in orbit, traveling at nearly 17,000 miles an hour.
Well, Gary, I don't know about you, but that was a great countdown. Everything sounded great. Right on time, actually a little ahead of time.
Nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts.
Got a good orbit out of Falcon 9, and first stage landed on the drone ship. And we're in the sunlight over the Atlantic Ocean with the Dragon spacecraft. All in all, a great day.
I think everybody's jealous of the crew in orbit right now, John. These views, even just from the cameras, are absolutely stunning. It was great to see our crew members get into orbit. They already performed successful checkouts of the 12 service section Dracos around Dragon. The next milestone will be the deployment of the nose cone. That'll be about a 5-minute process, but that'll expose the forward bulkhead Dracos and prepare them for checkout. There's a phase burn. There's 5 major burns that are needed to get the Crew Dragon up to rendezvous with the International Space Station over the next 23 hours. And so that first phase burn is coming up real soon in about 35 minutes, actually less than 35 minutes.